hi, I'm Emma from the Nocturnal. But I'm so impressed by what you've done just within, your bedroom, creating this album that you've made into this whole cinematic experience, and excited again to hear about your story. So, for those encountering you for the first time, how would you introduce yourself?
How's it going? My name is John Lindahl. Who is Johnny? Sorry, yeah, who is Johnny in my film? But no, I am a singer, songwriter, recording artist, producer, dancer, actor. Honestly, I hate like listing all that stuff, but like truly, I would say I'm just an artist, really trying to just get their vision out there in the most compelling way possible. And I'm just really grateful to live in an era where I can do it all in the confines of my bedroom. I've had a lot of ups and downs in the music industry, been a part of a lot of great things, a lot of cool experiences that I can talk about, and that have honestly trained me to bring it back into this room and to do it myself, being in rooms with some of the biggest people in the world and a lot of people doing a lot of different jobs, learning how to, if all of that goes away, being able to pick up the pieces and do it myself. So that's how I'd probably introduce myself.
That's incredible. You're such an artist, and your journey is really amazing. And I want to talk about how your transition from your last full album, which was a holiday album, to, your current project, which is an album. It features choreography and a whole, cinematic universe within itself. There's this eerie Halloween vibe. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, how has this creative evolution been getting from your last project onto this one?
Well, in retrospect, I released my debut album in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So just a little context of how I got into doing a Christmas album, because it was really quick. Like I've always, what was it? So I finished the album opening night, my debut album in 2020. I was gonna tour it. I was gonna go all over the world. Pandemic hits, everything, everyone's back inside. Victoria Monet has a similar story actually, where she released Jaguar and then it, went on hold. So while in my house, I basically was like, well, how else can I move my career forward? And I decided to do a whole holiday album just in my room, just kind of put that all together. And after I finished that, it actually, I think a lot of people enjoyed that, and it kind of comes back around every year, and it's been really cool. I was doing my holiday album in the entire, like in my room, just same kind of vibe as always. And I finished it, and I honestly went into a pretty deep depression afterwards because I realized, oh, I spent 5 years making my debut album, and I never got to do anything with it. I envisioned this big thing, this grand thing that I wanted to kind of take it on tour and do all these things. And I think I realized that the scope of the game of music was going so fast, and with TikTok and everything expanding and people releasing songs all the time, I felt like this sense of imposter syndrome, because I'm like, am I actually even an artist? Because it takes me a long time to even like the music that I like and want to even promote it, when the game nowadays is just a lot of quantity, just putting things out all the time. And I'm not disparaging that game, but I think over COVID, I started listening to a lot of like interviews with directors, like screenwriters, auteurs, like directors of films and whatnot. And I think I started realizing, I think this is a piece of my creativity, a piece of myself as an artist that I haven't fully tapped into, that I've always wanted to tap into. And in creating this album, I realized I want to brand it as a film as well, and everything that I do here on out as a film, because film is still very prevalent in society and people still take film serious. Not that they don't take music seriously, but people still take the amount of time that goes into film, that they understand that it's like a timely manner. And I'm willing to put all of that effort and obsess over a character that I create, and all the songs that intertwine and the score and the script. I'm willing to do that on a project that I'm in love with. I just don't know if I have the bandwidth to do that over and over and over again for just one-off songs. And so that was how I think I developed into creating this project, because I always wanted to do an all-encompassing world, kind of like Singing in the Rain, which is the first movie that got me into music ever, was like, the musical Singing in the Rain. And so I think just watching directors and realizing, oh, I'm not alone. There are people, I think my brain works more like that. I can just apply my skill set as a recording artist, and be my own director. Kind of like every director has their own skill set that they do that the other ones don't necessarily do. So I think that was hugely positive in that depression, like me coming out of that and realizing that's who I am.
Yeah, you've come such a long way, and this is so big, and I'm glad that you could finally get back into the groove of things with a project like this. Yeah, I want to talk about also, I mentioned a bit earlier how you did this all inside your bedroom. So it's like a little studio that you're in right
Yeah.
now. How did you, utilize that space? Was there any difficulties doing that, or is it second nature? Is that how you always do it?
Well, luckily, we have like the recording wise, that there are some really solid interfaces that you can record into that, good, great sound cards that create great stuff. And I use a dynamic SM7 microphone, which is they use that back. Everyone uses it now, but they did use it back in the 80s. It's a very common microphone back in that time. And the album is an 80s album. So it's authentic for the period. Um, and it's a dynamic microphone, so it's not picking up the entire room because a lot of people are saying, oh, you might get some weird reflection in the room. But I'm like, no, a lot of it is just I mix a lot in my headphones. I mix a lot there. And I do my vocals on a dynamic microphone, which kind of takes into account just the front, not like everything around you as much like a condenser would. But what's really cool about this space is that I grew up in this space, so I can walk around and hear things in different places. Like I'll let the music play and walk into different rooms. But I think one thing that's good about it is it's there are no limitations. Truly, the only limitations that I found, honestly, was I write and arrange for horns and strings as well. I do that a lot, and so what I would do is I would finish the arrangements in here with synthetic instruments and play them all, and I would then orchestrate that for horns and strings, which I just took to the studio for like a couple days, and they just played what was there. But that's a very standard thing that I actually learned from Logic's camp does that a lot. Like they'll go in and they'll do just like horns and strings after everything's done, but they'll go in and have them just play random stuff. Like I have my stuff like super arranged and then I take it in. So yeah, but then the mixing happened all in here. All the vocal recording was in here. It's I'm a big proponent for you artists that have the music in their head. Like you're capable of creating that music. I think we're told so often that we need to go find all these people to do it for us but I think that's a way of diminishing artists' value. If you hear it in your head, like you can get it out. We have the technology to do it now. You just gotta be willing to sit with it for long enough and just get mad for long enough and get frustrated at it until it gets there.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I want to get into questions about, the actual movie itself that, comprises of songs from the album. That first song, let me just say, it could have been its own movie. It was just there's so much depth and layers within it. And you had some killer moves, pun intended, that really stood out. Can you share that background that you have in dancing and choreography? I'm really curious to hear about that journey and experience that you've incorporated into the film.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, so you're referring to Welcome to Hargrove, the overture, right? Like the
Mhm.
entire thing. So that obviously that comes from my roots and watching Singing in the Rain and even like theater and just but also old films used to just have that. Even if they weren't musicals, they would have overtures that would kind of be an overarching thing for all the themes and motifs within the film. And I was really excited to do that because I want to do that with all my albums. And basically what my dance background, I honestly have always wanted to I started off in martial arts actually when I was really young. So I had a decent sense of like body awareness and I knew I always wanted to dance. And so I remember locking myself in my sister's room because she had a full mirror and I didn't have that for a whole summer. The summer Michael Jackson passed away and I just like was mimicking him for like and like Chris Brown and Usher and guys like that for I would say literally for like 2 years after that, but the whole summer, that's all I did. And I gradually then I got onto X Factor. I started learning from great choreographers like guys like Brian Friedman. And I trained when I got my first deal with guys like Fly Styles, who'd choreographed for Chris Brown for a long time. And he was in Michael Jackson videos. Jay Blaze, Antoine Troop, Eden Shabtai, a lot of great people. But then I would say my dancing really jumped up many notches as soon as I decided to train at Playground LA with Kenny Wormald in 2018. He opened Playground LA, and because we looked alike, he let me take class there for free. He was like, "Oh, you look like my brother. You can come take class." He thought I was a dancer. He didn't know I was an artist, and so I took class there just nonstop for a long time. And then that led to me learning from Marty Kudelka to who Justin Timberlake's choreographer, and like Misha Gabriel, guys like that. Ivan Kamayev, a lot of great like dancers in that camp. And so I was and they're like some of my best friends now. Like I'm just around those guys all the time. So Kenny moved to London, but I'm around them a lot. So it was a very organic dance environment that I've been around and been lucky to be able to take class from them because they just were friends. And so they let me come train. And I'm always like the only artist like dancing with a bunch of like dancers who are like the best in the world. There's no way you're not gonna excel and get a lot better at a expedited rate if you're around all of that talent, you know?
That is so impressive, that you've had all that training. And you are so like multi-talented. And one of those talents comes with directing, because you took the directorial role for this project alongside Josh Michael Payne. So looking just from the first part of the movie, the 20 minutes that are out, are there any specific directorial choices that stand out to you or you're really proud of? Or, you know, there's so many that I could think of.
When I was writing the script, because what was cool about Josh's involvement was I wrote the script and went through a whole thing, like a really super dense, like whole screenplay. And he came in and helped kind of refine it and make it a little more, make it like actually bring it, like make it more concise, if anything. Cause I like knew the whole characters' backstories. I knew what their mom did. I knew like all these things. And that was like really dense. But he helped kind of make it a little more concise for the viewer. And in terms of like the musical scenes, like what was really cool, I remember Marty saying this to me because he, you know, he was the choreographer for the whole thing. Because I had explained to him the whole project before and when I played him the album. And when he watched part one, he was like, John did everything he said he was gonna do, that's cool for me to hear, for like the fact that I said that. But I'll say the whole overture section, I'm really proud of that because I wrote that whole entire, like the shot list and everything. I'm really proud of all the music scenes, truly, like that was, those were kind of materializing in my mind as I wrote it. That's why the film happened, was because it was a bunch of scenes that were happening as the album was taking shape, but they didn't make sense by themselves. I needed to create something to kind of log it together. But I would say like a certain shot, if we want to make it concise, like one shot that I really liked. That's hard. I
You
really
can list multiple. It's okay. Yeah.
I'm honestly really proud of the bathroom scene, because that whole like the bathroom scene at the end, like all the looks, like all of that was exact, like, and the shots, like that was the first. Okay, yeah, definitely, that was the first song that I made that I knew this is a film, like for sure. And it was like I think the second song I made for the project, and it's exactly the way I saw it, with like the POV, the perspective, from down to up, the looking this way, looking that way, following me around the bathroom, like doing all these things. Like it was exactly like, it's a simple layout, but it was syncing up with the music so well. And I gotta shout out Josh Michael Payne for the VFX with like the stabs and everything. Like that was really beautiful that he did that as well. What shots what directorial stuff did you like? I can maybe elaborate on like some of those things, because I'm jumbled.
I really loved how you transitioned into each song, because I was kind of like, while listening, I was like, this album definitely tells a story, but I really wonder how he's gonna put it into, okay, this song to this song, with the choice with, you know, Johnny's brother being there and the interrogation room, like those choices. And I really, like you brought up, the last song that it ended off on, those shots were so impressive, like so good. I showed my friends after. I was like, guys, you have to watch this, like this is so good. But yeah, I love that you loved your work that you put out, and you should, because it was really great and really impressive.
I think going off of the his Johnny's brother thing, what I love about the story too is that as you watch it moving forward, as I release more, what I want it to be is, I don't necessarily want there to be I want every character to be very motivated by something. And I think that maybe not by this first part, because, you know, we're introducing everyone, but definitely by the second or third, I think the viewer will be very aware of what everyone's motivation is. Maybe except for Johnny, but everybody around, like by the end of the film, it's going to be like, I wanted every character to have almost a main character's arc, like every single character to have their moment where they really did something, or like it made sense to the audience that this is why they exist and why they do what they do. But yeah, the ending scenes, that was a really cool moment that I spoke about with Josh, that I can't really reveal why we did that. but there's some reasoning. There's a reason why that happened, or that there's a reason. Yeah, I'll just say we collaborated very well on that scene, and I think that it's just been so fun to. What's been cool too is like I think the reason why we have both of us as directors is like sometimes I'll step in and direct the whole scene. Sometimes Josh will direct a scene. I'll direct this whole thing, and it's like everyone that's on also the nature of the crew, like it's very small, like our crew is like 5 people and we are all just doing everyone's like different jobs. Like it truly is such a we believe in the project so much, and we're all filmmakers in our own right. Everyone is like playing this role, but then they're like making their own film somewhere else, and so it's like everyone really is just it's a great group of people who just really want to create the best project, and there's no ego at all. That's what's been so fun about this project.
That's incredible. The collaboration, you truly like can see it and how well it worked together within the film just by the first 20 minutes. So I'm excited for the next. You just recently mentioned this. You were crafting the script while crafting the album. Are there any specific songs from the album that held like a significance for you and meant the most during the creative process?
Yeah. I'll say "You Don't Know Me" was a big one because that was like the kind of the catalyst for it all, because I had this meeting with someone that had represented me when I was younger, and I had been through a lot. Obviously, I was like, I'd been through like 2 labels by that time. I had been like, dropped by a label, like, it's been through situations, and like they were there for that. And I was still trying. I basically was like, I have this project I want to show you. I think that I really got something with this. And the end of the meeting was essentially like saying, maybe you should go, you're so good at music, you should focus on maybe producing for people. Maybe like the artist thing really isn't, what maybe this is not really working out for you. And that was like that was where "You Don't Know Me" came from, because I was just so like frustrated, because I'm like, I created something, so I know I have something and people just aren't seeing it. You don't know me. Like you really don't know. You don't know what I have. I swear. And so that was kind of like the catalyst for it all. But "Don't Be Scared" is a big one for me as well, because I mean, honestly, the back half of the album was like very emotionally charged, but "Don't Be Scared" in particular is kind of like you'll see this in the film too, but it's kind of because Johnny's like a parallelism of my entire life. Like in some alternate universe, it's like it's allegorically related to events that happened in my life, which I didn't realize until I'm watching it as it's happening. I'm like, whoa. But that is more of like a lullaby or a love song to like my younger self, and basically, or myself who experienced something that they can't let go of, and basically saying, "Don't be scared, it's going to be okay. Like just keep going, keep moving on, keep going." Because I think throughout the project many times, or during that dark period, I wanted to quit music. I didn't know if I still had it, or if I should pivot or do something else. Like it was a point where I was just like, can I even do this anymore? Do I even like this anymore? Like, do I even like singing? Like, or is it all ruined for me? Like, have I fallen out of love with it all? And that was just a big, a cathartic moment of saying it's going to be okay. Like, you started this for a reason. Now go finish it for a reason. You know what I mean?
100%. I'm so glad you did finish it. And, you have that potential. You are showing it all off. And I love it so much. I was really curious while watching. Is there any like significance to fall or like that spooky season setting? Because there's mentions of Friday the 13th. Is there any particular significance behind choosing the season for this project?
So it initially started. Well, I'm a big horror fan. I've always been a big horror fan. And also after my holiday album doing well, not even doing well, but after like just having it and realizing that it came around every year, I was like, my favorite holiday is Halloween. Like it's my favorite one. And I said, I was thinking, I was like, I'd love to make not like a Halloween album, but an album set at that time, just to satiate, like I would love to exist in a world like that, because I've always loved Halloween and costumes. Since I was a little kid, I would dress up in costumes to go to school, and it wasn't even October. You know what I mean? Like I loved, existing in that world. And there's just an eeriness to it, and there's an urgency, and like especially those old classic films. Like I love the look of obviously 35 millimeter film, and that kind, like 16 millimeter, that old film stock. And I appreciate John Carpenter as well, because he he's an auteur, and he scored his own film that he directed, which I super appreciate, like Halloween and whatnot. And I think I wanted to just dive. A lot of people said that my music was always that I was like too pretty. My music was always too pretty. So I was like, well, what if I just set myself in an urgent environment and have the music and the subject matter have an undertone of something sinister,
Mm.
but the music still being beautiful. Like that creates a really conflicting emotional experience for the viewer. I try to do the same thing with Johnny too. I wanted Johnny to have all the elements of what the music had too, within, you know, like the subversive, scary undertone, but also there's a beauty in it too. There's a something about him that is, I'll say, endearing in ways. You know what I mean? Like there's like, but he's also a little, he's off. There's something going on. But I think I just wanted to create a little topsy-turvy, off balance environment for the listener and the viewer, and something for them to truly step into, you know. And everyone loves that vibe of, you know, leaves falling, Halloween, 80s. Like it's such a, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but everyone enjoys like stepping into that world, and it comes around every year with Halloween Horror Nights and Not Scary Farm, all these things. Like it's never not gonna be an era that's heralded by fans and people who want to be a part of it.
100%. It's like I felt such a familiar feeling while watching it, and I really, yeah, like you nailed in that old film vibe, and like it was so good. I'm really excited for the next part. I'm very glad we got to talk. I'm very excited to see the next few parts. And is there anything else you'd like to share? Maybe show off the sweater a little bit, any
Oh
merch?
yeah. So this is one of the merch pieces that's coming out. It's Who Is Johnny, because that's one of the song Johnny is featured throughout the first part. And we're gonna be doing capsule drops for each limited edition capsule drops of two pieces for each part of the film that's released. Is gonna be 6 parts. So this is gonna be the first part that's coming out. And there's also a John Lindahl's cult classic black hoodie, just classic, like the cover that you saw in the film. That's gonna go really hard as well. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to continue. I'm right after this call, I actually have to go through the script and prep for a shoot that we're doing tomorrow. So that's going to be super cool. I appreciate how into the music and film you are. It's really, it's truly been something that I only talk about to people who want to, dive into that world with me, because I don't want to bore anyone. So I really appreciate this time talking to you, and I hope we get to do it again, because it's, especially when the whole film's out too, because then I know there will be a lot to dissect there, because this was all like the preliminary setting up the world, and you haven't even been introduced to all the characters yet. There's still a bunch more. So it's, you know what I mean? So I'm really excited, and I'm very appreciative for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Anytime. So excited. So excited people can find you, discover you, and talk to you soon. Good luck with everything.
Gizmo says bye as well. Gizmo says bye.
Bye.